Let's go up. Hey, hey, diddy da 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 diddy da 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 da. Hey, hey, diddy da 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 diddy da da da. Diddy da da da. Diddy da 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 da. Diddy da 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 da. Diddy da 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 da. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's good to see all of you, and it's good to see all of you. And wherever you are, you're in the right place, and we're grateful that you're joining us here at PJTC. And so tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. You may have noticed since we've been out on the patio a few weeks ago, for the first time on a Friday night service, I took off my jacket. And then the next week, I loosened my tie. And then the week after that, I think I took off my tie. And then this week, I've rolled up my sleeves, which means next week, I think we're back in the sanctuary. Because otherwise, I have to take my boots off or something. I said boots. No, we've been having fun out here doing Shabbat under the stars, and there will be some, and it's been really delightful to be out in the open air. I know that makes some people more comfortable being out in the open air. And next week also, I believe Cantor Ruth might be joining us, and I will be happy to go back to singing backup. So, what we're doing differently tonight is for the first part of the service, for Kabbalat Shabbat, this is where we receive, this is where we welcome, this is where we embrace the fact that Shabbat is coming, whether we prepared for it or not. But it's nice to stop and pause and notice that Shabbat is descending upon us, and that it is helping us ascend from our everyday work week, and sometimes Shabbat can't come soon enough, and we ascend into a more holy place. And often we have a ladder, we have a series of psalms and songs to help us climb up to Shabbat. Tonight, just because we're in this different place, and this might be the last time I'm singing solo here for a while, and might be the last time we're here outside for the summer, I'm not sure, it starts to get hotter. We're going to do something different, and I'm going to teach you one song that we're going to sing for Kabbalat Shabbat instead of all the different songs. But this is a Kabbalat Shabbat song. This is a part of a traditional Kabbalat Shabbat service. And then I'll talk a little bit about why I decided to do that when we talk about the Torah this evening. And then from then we'll go to Baruch Hu, and then we'll do all the statutory prayers of Baruch Hu, and the blessings for light, and the blessings for love, and the V'ahavta, and the Vayomer, and all that, just as usual. But first, we're going to start in a slightly different way. And so I really need your help as best as you are able to help. And mostly that just involves doing your level best to match pitch. And what that means is I'm going to sing a note, or I'll make a sound, and I want you to try to make that same kind of sound. Okay, whatever octave you're on, it's fine with me. So let's try this. Well, that sounded pretty good. There's several people in the right place. That was really nice. And so there's an old Jewish practice, at least goes back to the Hasidic movement beginning in the 18th century, of singing what are called nigunim. These are songs that don't necessarily have words to them, or you could add words to them or adopt words to them. And we sing these songs, and having no words means everybody knows the words. So hopefully this is an inclusive experience. But you also might find that we sing the same kind of few bars over and over again. And some people get very impatient with that, and that's okay. This is a very fast society that we live in, and it's hard to slow down for Shabbat. But I want you to get comfortable with singing the same song over and over again, because what it becomes is like, well, some traditions call it a mantra, and some physicians call it a heartbeat. But let's just try it out and see how it goes. You all know these notes? One more time. I forgot to tell you, in case there is anyone here who's maybe not comfortable adding their voice to this lovely chorus that we're starting to put together. Sometimes people are self-conscious about how they sound. There was a story about a flute that was brought to Solomon. And the person who brought this flute to Solomon said it was this little simple wooden flute, and said, this was the flute that Moshe Rabbeinu played when he was a shepherd. And Solomon said, well, it deserves greater honor than just to be a beat up piece of wood. Let's gold plate it and put jewels on it and things like that. And they did. And then the chief musician came out and played it, and it sounded terrible because it was covered with all this stuff. And then they took all the plate off and they played it again, and it sounded just as sweet as Moshe Rabbeinu when he played it before he had that other job of bringing us out of Egypt. And so don't be afraid if your voice sounds common. One tip, if you want to try to sing but you're self-conscious, close your eyes, because if you have your eyes closed, nobody can see that it's you. One more time. How's that sound? I got some thumbs, mostly up. Has anybody ever heard this song before? If you've heard this song, raise your hand. I got a ringer. I got some people who have heard me sing this song before. For those of you who haven't heard this song before, is there a particular feeling that comes with this song that engenders? Is there something that comes up for you when you sing this song that maybe surprises you? Anybody want to share? Okay. It's gentle. I love that word. Anybody else? Reminds you of Native American. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. So thank you for raising that. Okay. First time I heard it, that's what I thought too. So, anything else? Feels like you're getting ready to go somewhere. There's a kind of anticipation to it. Preparatory. What was that? I heard some giggling. So some people think this song is very funny. I heard you smiling. Very good. Yeah, you're getting, so it's gentle, and yet it's gentle, it's anticipatory. Maybe sounds like it's not exactly us, right? Maybe it sounds a little bit different than we're used to. One thing we should do before I say anything more is part of this experience of Shabbat is ascent, is increasing a kind of radiance. And one thing we do before we ascend is we increase the light in this space, even as the sun is going down. So I'm going to see if Judy and Karen would be willing to light Shabbos candles for me. Or for us, if that'd be okay. We have our high-tech operation over here. Steering the boat. Amen. That's a beautiful song too. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Judy. And so I talked about ascent, and we're starting in kind of a lower place. We're getting ready. We're sort of like scrunching down, maybe ready to jump up, or we're starting in a place where we can go up from here. And most songs have ascent to them. They have A parts and B parts, and the B parts are usually higher. So we're going to start where we started, and then I'll ask you to try to follow me up as we go up. And we'll repeat it a couple of times, so if you need some practice, you'll have it. So let's try that one more time. How does that first part go? One more time. All right, who tried the climb? Oliver, what do you think? We got more thumbs. If that engendered a different feeling for you, what different feeling did you feel?
Now the Native American comment really
Oh boy, yeah.
resonated big time.
It really does. It really
100%.
does. See, the reason I really resonated with that is the first time I heard this kind of singing, I went to, this was a very progressive synagogue in Los Angeles. I had just moved here from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Congregation Bethel represent in St. Louis Park. I never heard anything like that before. And I came in and I thought, well, that doesn't sound Jewish. That sounds like some Native American chanting or something. Where's my Ein Kelohenu? And I later, after studying with a Jewish musicologist named Joey Weissenberg, discovered that that's one of our older contemporary, like one of the older forms of singing that happens in contemporary Jewish spaces. A lot of the songs in our prayer book come from 100 years ago or 150 years ago, these sort of Germanic polka tunes and things like that that were adopted to Jewish prayers because that was the popular music of its time. This actually goes back into the late 1700s in kind of Pale of Settlement area as a kind of a meditative practice. And that's a more contemporary composition, but Joey Weissenberg, who composed it, had spent years going to remote areas where a lot of the Jewish community was wiped out during World War II and collected songs, basically, with a tape recorder that had almost been lost. And this particular one is a setting for a very traditional tune for Friday nights. And it's one that Cantor Ruth sometimes sing with a slightly different tune. It's an Aramaic prayer that goes before Lachadodi, like right before, it's sort of the border between the Psalms and Lachadodi, and it's called Ana B'Choach. And Ana B'Choach it basically means strength, please, because we're moving from a space of maybe getting beat up all week, either by your responsibilities or by other people, and saying, please give us the strength. Hear the songs that we're singing, lift us up and cleanse us with this Shabbat experience. The words are Ana B'Choach Gedulat Yamincha, please God with the strength of your right hand, or sort of the strength of your dominance. Tatir Tserura, meaning break bonds, untie our knots, whatever knots you have, whether you're bound by your situation or maybe you're tied up in knots on the inside. We're asking God to break those knots. Kabel Rinat Amcha, receive, accept, hear the song of your people, the same root as Kabbalat Shabbat. Just as we accept and receive Shabbat, we're asking God in return to hear our song, to accept our song. Sagvenu, lift us up, Taharenu, cleanse us, Norah, awesome one. And so we're going to try this song one more time. And as people are sharing the tune, I'm going to add the words in. If you feel like following along with the words, it's in prayer books on page 20. It's not in the transliteration ones, unfortunately. But I'll sing it a few times. And if you don't sing the words and you only sing the tune, that's great. If you don't sing the tune, but you tap out a rhythm, that's fine. If you don't tap out a rhythm, but you open your heart to maybe a different way of welcoming Shabbat, that's excellent. So let's do it one more time. Tatir Tserura, Kabel Rinat Chasak Venu Tarenu Nora Mincha Tatir Tserura Kabel Rinatam Chasak Venu Tarenu Nora. Hey, 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 di-di-da-da-da, di-di-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, di-di-da-da-da, 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 di-di-da-da-da-da-da, di-di-da-da-da. Thank you for doing that with me. You all sound really fantastic, and I appreciate opening your hearts to that different way of welcoming in Shabbat. And I want to share just a few words of Torah before we go on to Baruch Hu and the rest of the traditional service. And we are at a special place in the Torah, and I know I say that about a lot of places in the Torah, but we're in a very special place in the Torah. This is a double portion of Matot Maseh, and these are the last two sections of Sefer Bamidbar, the Book of Numbers, put together. And I said Sefer Bamidbar, which means in the wilderness, but Some people call it the book of Numbers. Why? It's full of numbers, right? There's censuses or censi. I don't know. I'm not a Latin scholar. But there are censuses. It starts off with a census and it ends with a census, right? But there are different censuses. Why? Because they're counting different people. The census in the beginning are these are the people who left Egypt with us for the most part, minus, this and that plague. And then they go through the wilderness for 40 years. And we've reached the point in the narrative where everyone who was, say, 20 and up when they left Egypt has passed away through age, through the rigors of the journey, through various battles and plagues and boo-boos and things like that. Everybody who was an adult, everybody who has an adult memory of Egypt is no longer with them. And the only people who are there are people who are either children when they left or people who were born along the way. And Maaseh refers to this recitation of, let's say, a travel log. This kind of look back, hey, everybody, look at all these places that we've been. And it talks about this place and that place and this other place. And why is it repeat? Because we already read about these places. Why are we repeating this here at the end and then counting noses? And I think it's for one very special reason. The book of Deuteronomy is about to look forward. There are some repetitions and some recounting of stories, but it's very much about a charge forward, how people should govern themselves in the promised land. This is our last look back at the journey that we have been on. And there's a wonderful tradition that I love. I don't think we do it here, but there in some congregations, they have this tradition of reading, when they read the Torah, and they read about the journeys from this place to that place to the other place, they adopt a particular trope, a particular melody that is reminiscent of the song at the sea. It's called the Desert Traveling Melody, and it's sort of based on the song at the sea. And so if you can imagine people gathered at the edge of the promised land, the edge of the Jordan River, waiting to go over. And I said, not so fast. Before we reach the last stop on our road trip, remember that time, remember that place, remember that pothole, remember that wonderful discovery. It's a chance to pause and breathe and share those memories, because tomorrow is really exciting and we might forget to. So before we advance into the people that we are going to become, let's take stock of who we've been and where we've been and why we've been that brought us to this place. And in that spirit, I wanted to try to sing this song that is in some ways very new, for some people maybe very, very new, but is also very traditional. It's a musical tradition that goes back a couple of hundred years. It's an Aramaic poem that goes back perhaps 1,000 years. And it reminds me, and this is just conclude here, reminds me of something we'll say tomorrow at the very end of the Torah service. I'm not spoiling it because we say it every week at the Torah service. As we are closing the doors of the ark, we sing this song, it's Chaim Chi. The last words of that are Chadesh, sing along if you know this one. Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Which, if you'll indulge me in a translation, we're asking God to renew our days like days of old, which in some ways sounds like a paradox. Renew our days like they used to be? No, I think it's more like renew our days as we've been able to trust you to renew our days from the very beginning. And so that's why on Friday nights we always say, Shir Ladonai Shir Chadash, sing to God a new song. We don't have to completely depart from our tradition, chas v'shalom, because it makes us who we are. But if we can sing it in a way and present it in a way and be open to it in a way that allows us to make it fresh, then it'll be there for those who come after us. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us here at PJTC. So we can return to our prayer books. On page 28, we begin Mariv with our call to blessing the Baruch Hu, and we'll rise in body or in spirit. And if you're an east-facing person, east is that way. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavir yom umevi laila, Adonai tzivot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'aravi. You may be seated if you wish. We continue in 29, page 29. Da, da, da. Constancy of God's love. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadata Al ken Adonai Eloheinu V'shovenu Nasiach bechukecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Ve'orech yamenu Ve'orech yamenu Uvehem nege yomam b'layla Yomam b'layla Vavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael. Let's say the Shema together on page 30. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha Bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha Ve'hayu harvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uvshokbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Continue at your own pace in the middle of page 30. We'll get back together in just a moment. Top of page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta alehem, v'asu lehem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdehem ledorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf patil techelet, v'haya lachem letzitzit, uritem oto, uzkartem et kol mitzvot Adonai vasitem otam velo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareichem leman tizkaru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelocheichem ani Adonai Eloheichem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah kol zol. Page 32. Yam Suf. Sanctuary. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם. Adonai, mi kamocha, neder b'kodesh nora, tehilot osef eleh, malchutecha, ra'u banecha, bokeh Moshe Zeli Anu ve'amru Zeli Anu ve'amru Adonai Yimlok le'olam Adonai Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga Yisrael. On page 33, we ask, help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Hashkivenu, page 33. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu. Ushmor tzeiteinu לשלום, ואתה ואדונם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. שלום, 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 שלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Page 34. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא. ואמרו amen. We rise as you're able for the Amidah for Shabbat evening. This is a private prayer. You can be guided by the words of the tradition on the page, starting with 35b. When you're finished with your own prayer, you may be seated and we'll all get back together in just a little while. Say shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. We conclude the Amidah with Kaddish Shalem on page 48, Yikra v'yikra shemei Rabbah, Ba'ama divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaychon v'yimechon v'chay d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kari v'yimeru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam alal me'al maya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipar v'yidrumam v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha, brihu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yama v'imeru, Amen. Tikabal sod honu v'ad hon d'kol Yisrael, kodem avahon d'vishmaya v'imeru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imeru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imeru, Amen. Amen. They're getting better at the cues. As we move from Simcha to Kavod, we always pause here near the end of our service to remember those who are no longer with us. This week at PJTC, we're marking the Yahrzeit, that is the anniversaries of the passing of Herman Bromberg, Gertrude Budnitsky, Pauline Clarity, Miriam Dinnerman, Bernice Feldstein, Howard Finn, Gloria Fleischer, Gregory Fry, Anna Friedenberg, Richard Goodman, Goldie Ida Gordon, Leonard Goss, Shuey Greenberg, Estelle Greenblatt, Eva Schneiderman-Katz, Diana Klein, Howard Lassman, Ruth Fierst Lehman, Esther Newman, Ruvim Rabinovich, Rosal Schlachter, Henya Seitlin, Peter Silverman, Jerry Sirota, Jean Slater, Sarah Sternberg, Tanya Sugarman, Shimon Whiteman, Louis Whitkin, and Nathan Witt. If someone has another name that they'd like to lift up in honor at this time, please say that name out loud wherever you are. If you have names you're holding in your heart, that's okay too. I'll invite everybody who is mourning for anyone or marking a yahrzeit to please rise. And we'll say the Kaddish tome together. We're going to be on page 52. Page 52. Let's pray together. Yikral v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivarach Leolam and Almei Almaya. Vit Barak, Vishtabak, Vit Ba'ar, Vit Ramam, Vit Naseh, Vit Hadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei Dekucha, Rihu, Leila Min Kol Birchata Vashirata, Tushbechata Venechemata, Damiran Bialma Vimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu, Val Kol Yisrael, Vimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Huya Se Shalom, Aleinu, Val Kol Yisrael, Vimru Amen. I'll ask everyone to rise, either on your feet or in your spirit. We're going to turn back one page to Aleinu. As we close to take on the responsibility for the world that we want. It's on us, Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teinu al yotzei reshit, shalom asanu ha'atzot, velo samanu k'mishmot ha'adama, shalom samkavim lahem, v'gor aleinu k'kol ha'olam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishachati u'odim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הכתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, Let's stay standing for just a little while longer as we depart this space. And, well, don't depart. Stick around for Kiddush, please. But as we leave this intention, may it be an intention for peace. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. 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 Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. Odivo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Shalom Shalom. Good Shabbos, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to make Kiddush here in a minute. So I think there should be some cups of juice coming out, cups of juice and wine. It's on its way. Michelle, could you help me with something? not sure if they're have signs on them for whether they're wine or juice. Give it a sniff if you need to. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. I had the same reaction to that music too. Really? Yes, I did. It kind of thanks for giving me the crowd. All right, does everybody have a cup who wants a cup? Got cups coming around. Yeah. Carol, so good to see you.
Good to be out and about.
Amen. All right, there's a word that keeps giving me trouble. So
No light.
it's from Bob. I think it's my prescription. Vayir vayvoker yom hashishi, vayhulu hashamayim b'haaretz, v'chol tzavam, vayhal Elohim bayom hashvi'i, melakto asher asa, vayishbok bayom hashvi'i mikol melakto asher asa, vayvarek Elohim et yom hashavi'i, vaykadesh oto, kivo shavat mikol melakto asher bara, Elohim la'asot savri chachayim, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon hini lanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikrei kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, kivanu b'charta ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, L'shabbat kodshecha le'ahava v'ratzon hinaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. I'll do a Netzi Lati dime over here for everybody's behalf. For those of you at home, wash as you wish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. Thanks.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Tastes like Shabbos, everybody. There's some challahs pre-cut up back there, and some cookies and nosh, and lots of nice friends to be here. Okay.
Talk to Sarah.
If anybody feels like sticking around and practicing that song with me,
Clark.
I'll hang
Clark
out.
too. Yay. The two of them together at the same time? I'll practice.
And
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
oh yeah.
Who's there? I see Michelle. Nicole.
I saw him.
And services
Oh, no one wanted
coordinating,
to watch the
services
show.
coordinating.
So we Wednesday night. No, I flew out the door and run, and he yelled at me, "What are you running?" I said, "Well, actually, you're probably not going to be able to."